see like someone that's like new to this? What do you see inexperienced attorneys do that are common mistakes that you kind of cringe when you hear or see someone that's supposedly a real estate attorney, and you're like, yeah, this wasn't a good idea?
Let's see. Working with folks who are not married, buying property, and not also working on a cohabitation or co-ownership agreement. That's a huge one, because getting into a piece of property with someone who's not your spouse and not having an exit plan, it might as well be malpractice. That's one.
Okay, let's talk about that, because I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt, because I'm actually currently doing a partition action. I got dragged into it through a family friend of mine. Brother, sister got into it, don't want to live together. They're joint tenants. So, and now it's going to cost thousands of dollars for them to resolve this, because he wants to be bought out, she wants to stay, and guess what? They're joint tenants, and court's like, yeah, one party wants to be out. Guess what? You can't force them unless you buy them out. You can't force them to stay with you. So let's talk a little bit about that. So, why don't you give me a little bit more information on that?
Sure. Those ones are really interesting. I had a case last year where it was a brother and sister, and they weren't living in any of the properties, but they bought a bunch of condos, and their relationship went south. Their buyout agreement, their buy-sell agreement in their business didn't really address the breakup. In the more common situation is you have friends that are buying property together. You have a boyfriend and girlfriend that are buying property together. And they think that, handshake deal between friends or boyfriend and girlfriend is enough. The problem is that they have to go through and do something like a partition action in order to break up, which you can avoid by having all of those terms lined out. So if brother wants to get out of the property, okay, sister, I'm giving you notice. You have 90 days to refinance the property to buy me out. This is how you calculate what my buyout is. It also sets the expectations of actually when you own it, who's responsible for what and when. If sister pays the entire tax bill, she's entitled, or should be entitled, to reimbursement of at least half of whatever money she's putting in to maintain the property. But you can work on all those fine details for people who are, in committed relationships but aren't married for whatever reason. They don't want to get married. How do you deal with this? Do you want, and you mentioned this brother and sister owned it as joint tenants. Let's pretend that they owned it at tenants in common. And you're like, well, what the hell is tenants in common?
Yes.
Tenants in common is another way that you can own property with somebody.
From law school. Sorry.
Right. So tenants in common is another way you own property with somebody. The difference is, under tenants in common, when you die, your heirs, so whoever inherits your estate, if you don't have estate planning documents that deal with this, whoever inherits from your estate is now a co-owner with whoever you owned that piece of property with. So in the boyfriend and girlfriend situation, let's say that the boyfriend dies and he has a brother and a sister. They now own this piece of property with his ex-girlfriend. Well, his girlfriend. Does he really want that? Does she want that? Probably not. But that's the reality of, like, when you choose title, what's going to happen when you die? In joint tenants, the other option is, I wanted my brother and sister to have the equity of the house that I bought, but this girlfriend, we're on title as joint tenants. She gets the whole thing. My family gets nothing.